everybody! Today I'm going to be doing a review on a super impactful book that I recently read, and it is Asking for It by Louise O'Neill. Now, it is no surprise that I loved this because I loved Only Ever Yours, which is her other novel, and I knew that the topic and that the way that she was going to handle it was going to be very profound and was going to be done and executed perfectly, just because she executed Only Ever Yours so well. And so knowing her writing style and knowing how she writes these books with very strong feminist topics, I knew that this was just going to be amazing. I want to start by saying that whenever I do a video that has to deal with a feminist topic, I automatically get a surge of people that literally, I think, just like scour YouTube looking for videos like this so that they can hate on it and say that my opinion is irrelevant and claim that there is no such thing as gender inequality. And I know that I will get those comments, but it's just, this is not the place you want to do that. Like, I promise you, I have subscribers that will come after you if it's not myself doing it. So carry on. Just to give you guys a quick kind of like non-spoilery review, this is mostly going to be a book discussion, so I will be discussing some spoilers. But for those of you who maybe do not know what this is about, this is a story following a girl who, and this isn't a spoiler because it's literally within like the book's description, she gets dropped off literally in like the front porch of her house in the beating sun. This group of boys just leave her there, and we later find out that there is something terrible that has happened to her and that she has been a victim of a sexual assault. And we just sort of follow her story throughout this novel, and we get to see you know, how this is affecting and how this is shaping and changing her life. And this is done in such an amazing way. I will get into those reasons here in a second, but if you're just somebody who does not want any spoilers whatsoever, I would highly recommend just leave it at that. You can go read the book's description and sort of see if this is something that you are interested in. I think no matter what, this is a book that you should read. Same with Only Ever Yours. I think that this is such an important text, and I think this is something that like everybody should have to read, and so I would highly 100% recommend it. This is a book that no doubt changed my life and has had a deep impact on my reading experience as a whole and just my thought process regarding these kinds of situations in general. So 100% would recommend it. But let's get more into the discussion. I have a little hair over here that is just, it's not wanting to stay put. There we go. So one of the main things that I loved about this novel is that we have a nuanced, very flawed main character who is selfish, self-absorbed, narcissistic, just an overall awful friend, and our main character is just this person that you do not like. I remember reading this and just being like, oh my god, she is so awful. But obviously that does not mean that she is at all deserving of what happens to her. But I think that the way the author did this is such a refreshing take, because most of the time our protagonist is somebody who is extremely likable. She is somebody, or he is somebody who we just can't help but love. And even though maybe they have these flaws, we overall would like to be their friend, or there's something, you know, ultimately redeeming about them. But what the author has presented here is a character who you just don't like. I mean, I kind of hated her. And it gives such a different perspective on this because, again, obviously this does not mean that she deserves it whatsoever, but it just sort of changes your perspective on the story versus if it was maybe this girl who was incredibly friendly, who was amazing, who you just felt like, you know, you really connected with. And I applaud the author for doing that because I feel like that would have been the easy route, but she took a much more difficult look at this by making this character who, like I said, is just extremely unlikable. This novel is also mysterious because as the reader, you know as much as our main character. I'm going to mention real quick, our main character's name is Emma. But as to what happened on this night, we are following the story. It's told in this first perspective kind of view, and so we know as much as she knows. And what she knows is videos on Facebook, on Snapchat, she knows pictures, and she just can't remember anything else. The only thing that we know is that this was a party night, and that this was a night where Emma was drinking, she was doing drugs, and obviously she was not in her right mind to be giving any sort of consent. And really that is the main topic that this book brings up, is that I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. So we have this gray line, and what do you do when you're presented with that? Emma does not remember giving consent that night, and how could she? She was literally just off her face and lying down in a bed, according to these videos, non-responsive. And so again, we bring up this this topic of consent and truly what that means. I think one of the most oddly harrowing experiences when I was really into this book is I was looking up author interviews with Louise O'Neill. And again, when I was kind of, as I alluded to in the beginning of this video, it seems like whenever people talk about these topics, there are literally people out there who are searching like feminist videos just to attack them. And so on these interviews, there were people that were just, I mean, giving Louise like so much shit and just completely bashing this book, saying that this is bullshit, this doesn't happen, when like there is like statistics, there are like real facts that show you that this does happen. But somebody commented on one of these videos and says, you know, she didn't say yes, but she didn't say no either. Fuck condoms, just bring your crystal ball. And that to me just shows, I mean, that is like exactly the point that this author is trying to get across. That there's this mindset that even though you didn't get a yes from this girl or from this man, she or he didn't say no either. So it's free game. You can just do whatever you want. And especially in this context where we have somebody who is non-responsive, it just breaks my heart and pisses me off to no end that people think that this is okay. I am literally getting choked up over this because it is something that it affects me to my core. Like, it literally is something that I feel so strongly about, because it is just awful that this is stuff that actually happens, and that I might have people that are watching this video that this has affected you. And when I see comments like that, it literally just, oh, I can't even explain. I'm getting it right now, just this gut feeling, almost like I want to throw up because it's just so disgusting. That is obviously outside of this book discussion, but it's just something that I needed to bring up because I think that that truly shows like a real life example of the point that she is trying to make and how people think that this just isn't an issue. Our main character in this novel is just a very young girl who is trying to work out everything that is happening, and because of obviously her lack of experience in all of this and just being young and, you know, able to make not the most wise decisions, she does things that she ultimately ends up regretting. She says things, she admits to things that aren't necessarily true. She is lying because she thinks that all of this will go away if she just lies about it and if she doesn't actually say what happened. And in reality, this creates a much harder situation for her because now it is literally her word against her own word. On top of these mistakes, she also has like perhaps one of the worst support systems in the entire world. Outside of her brother, who even in the beginning was still not that supportive, she just has nobody who is truly sticking by her. The author also takes this opportunity of this really awful, you know, close support system to talk about how a lot of times we as, you know, maybe activists, feminists, people against sexual assault, we rally behind these people, but you know, these girls or these men, they don't know us. And so how can they take our support and actually really feel that and internalize that and, you know, feel like things are okay? What I mean by that is in this novel, the story gets sort of sensationalized and it's now like this national global story. And so Emma kind of becomes like this poster child for like the sexual assault case, this public figure. So there are, you know, feminist blogs, feminist news sites, people from all over that are starting like these Twitter hashtags saying that they stand by her, you know, people asking out to her for her to write something and all these different things. But within Emma's own community in her little small town that this happens, everybody is pinned against her because nobody is taking what she is saying and believing it. A lot of this has to deal with the fact that in the beginning she said some untrue things, and now it kind of seems like she's going back on her word. And from this outsider view to these people, they are thinking that she's doing this for attention. And this is something that on the global aspect people don't get, but the people closest to her, her own parents, just aren't 100% there. They just don't 100% believe this story. And it really made me think about this because I myself am somebody who obviously stands very strongly against sexual assault. And if there were a case like this, let's even kind of talk about, you know, recently, like the Brock Turner case, I really tried to, within my own little social media platforms, not so much YouTube, but definitely the way that I'm changing up my channel now, that is something I would like to do. But within my own kind of personal social media platforms, I really try to speak out against this. But the truth is that this is a girl who I will probably never meet. And Emma gave us just such an interesting perspective on this because she's like, I don't care about a Twitter hashtag. I don't care that there are, you know, people telling me that they stand with me or whatever, because I'm getting literally hundreds of messages a day on my own personal Facebook telling me to go kill myself. And I can't even walk outside into my own town without getting glares, without getting snickers, without being called a bitch, a slut, a whore within my own community. So how are these people thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away who say they support me, how are they supporting me? And how, in the end, are they really going to help me? We also get this inner monologue from Emma. So like I said, this is a novel that's told from a first perspective view, but then the author put things in parentheses that kind of talk more about like a really, really inner thought. And as the reader, you get to see that she is progressively getting worse day by day by day. And for the people around her, you know, she's kind of putting on this facade. She's not necessarily happy, but she's not letting people know her true feelings. And it's just heartbreaking reading these things that she is talking about, the way that she blames herself for the situation, the way that she blames herself for how these boys' lives are getting destroyed, the way that she blames herself for her parents' crumbling marriage, all these different things because of something that she had no control over, but she feels like she does. And so she blames herself for this whole situation. And it is so heartbreaking to read that because fuck the other boys' lives who are getting destroyed. This is something she is going to have to live with for the rest of her life as well. And she literally did nothing except drink a little bit too much and pop maybe a few too many pills and go to sleep. Ultimately, what I think is so great about this book is that it challenges us as readers and ultimately makes us question our own judgment. Again, Emma seeing these stories, these hashtags, and these people that are standing by her really hit home for me. And that was something that I really took away from this book that I never would have gained that sort of knowledge and that sort of perspective on if I didn't read this. The title itself explains the problems within our culture. We have all heard the phrase asking for it, and this is just a conversation that needs to be had. At one point, this book points out the fact that when we are young, we get these little classes and these little seminars on the dangers of drinking, on the dangers of doing drugs, and we never get anything on the dangers of not giving consent or getting consent. This is a topic that needs to be covered at an early age, because a lot of times these are instances that happen at an early age. We need to no longer have these terms that are so normalized in our society, like asking for it, or boys will be boys, or, well, did you see what she was wearing? She never actually said no. And other little phrases that we have all heard, especially as women, a million times in our life. Those shouldn't be normal things, and that is rape culture. Watching Louise O'Neill talk about this, I think she said it so brilliantly when she, and I'm paraphrasing here, but basically just said, obviously we don't live in a culture that promotes rape. You know, we don't have people that are telling us to go rape each other. That is not the case. But what rape culture is it's a lot more insidious than that. It's more underground than that. It is these phrases and these actions and these little tiny things that we still have in our society, and these little things teach men and women that it's okay to do this to each other to an extent that, you know, oh, well, she was asking for it, then justifies what happened. Or, oh, she was drinking or whatever. What did she expect? And I know I'm saying this in terms of she. Obviously, this is something that happens to males too, but this book particularly deals with an instance of rape to a woman, and so that is why I'm saying this. But we have just normalized this, and that in turn gives permission. This is just such, like all of Louise O'Neill's works, just such an important book for everyone to read because it just makes you think about so many things. I have not done a dedicated book review just to one book yet, but I knew immediately when I got to this last page and I literally had chills throughout my body that I needed to do a video on this because first off, this is a topic I feel obviously very strongly about, but secondly, this is just a book that I cannot encourage you guys enough to read. It's written beautifully, it is heartbreaking, it's harrowing, and it's just important, you know, and it's not necessarily the most fluffy, most fun book to read. This isn't necessarily an uplifting story, but it puts a fire in you. And I know for me, one of the first things when my husband got home that night after I read this is I told him, I want to do something. I want to do something more than just standing by and, you know, retweeting a hashtag. I want to do something more than just reposting something on Facebook. I want to find a way to actually help women in real life. And so I've done tons of research over the past couple of days, and I found some great organizations that I am very excited to work with, that I am going to volunteer with, and I'm also going to be donating a lot of my AdSense money to these organizations that help these women. So every single cent that I get from this particular video, of course, will be going towards sexual assault survivor advocacy programs. But throughout the year, this is something I really want to work on, and this is something that I think that is cool because it allows you guys to kind of feel good about, you know, watching my videos and, you know, commenting and subscribing and doing all that awesome stuff. And I think that this is a way that I myself, with my own tiny little platform that I have on here, I can kind of make a difference. So I hope you guys support me in that. Please, please, please do yourself a favor and pick this up. This is an absolutely amazing story. And for any of you who have gotten this far, that have read this yourself and you just were kind of here for the discussion, please discuss with me further in the comments. I want to know your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions, everything. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.